The NFL has become a league always full of drama. The world now loves the National Football League. Incredible games. It's the best reality show there is. And then the playoffs. And then the Super Bowl. Oh, wait a minute. Then it's free agency. Then it's the draft. Then it's OTAs. Then it's the schedule release. Then it's mini camps. And then there's a nap. The NFL takes a nap. It is the plant shutdown, and that's where we're going on this unique version of Defending the Kingdom. And it's all brought to you by Ticketmaster. McKinnon is in at running back. First down and goal to go. Play action fake. Right side throw. Touchdown! Kansas City! McCole Hardman with the catch on the right side. A 3-yard touchdown pass in overtime. Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, along with senior team reporter Matt McMullen. Okay, in Andy Reid's words, it's fast and furious. It reaches a whole nother level in the playoffs and a whole nother level in the Super Bowl, and then the offseason really isn't off. It's just a non-playing season, but here we are in the NFL's version of a nap or plant shutdown.
And it's kind of a strange feeling, isn't it? Really, for the last 2 years, we're going 100 miles an hour, like nonstop. And in the latest season, we're going 100 miles an hour since around mid-July. And then, like you said, we get to the Super Bowl, the euphoria of all of that. Immediately after the Super Bowl, we're headed to the Combine. We're doing free agency stuff. The draft happens, all the post-draft stuff, rookie minicamp, OTAs, mandatory minicamp, and then nothing. Then just one day everything falls off a cliff. There's just nothing going on. And it's this way for about 3 weeks until training camp starts up in mid-July. But got to try to relax a little bit, right? Enjoy this time, enjoy the boredom of it all. Maybe we'll go on vacation because before we know it, we're right back at it.
And yeah, when the lights come on, man, it's just like turning on a blast furnace. But it also gives me a chance to give salute out to, places like the Clay Como Auto Plant or the plant in Fairfax, where it never shuts down. There's 3 shifts going all the time, right? It just every day becomes another day. And then there's the times they have to shut it down to do maintenance or whatever. Same thing with agriculture. Like they go, hey, you take a vacation when you're in agriculture. Yeah, but somebody else has to do the work. The work doesn't stop. As Andy Reid says so very well, a farmer's work is never done. But that's the way the NFL is until this time. And it's just this brief respite. But we're going to dive in to how you handle that. Also, what we're excited about going into training camp, which will start very soon, and then maybe our concerns going into training camp. But before we do any of that, we're going to go off the rails in this edition of Defending the Kingdom, and let's start by going around the world.
Yep, let's do it. Before we do, one quick tidbit. If you really think about it, because of the 17-game season now and the Super Bowl being a week later, we just completed the 2 shortest off seasons for a team in NFL history. We had the shortest one 2 years ago, and then just did it all again because we played in the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl both years. So something else, not easy to do, to really have virtually no off season and then to go do it again. But the Chiefs did it last year, and let's go do it once again. Got 5 around the worlds for you today. So I met Berto.
For Hollywood Brown.
Yes, for Hollywood Brown, who we are very excited about, by the way.
Boy.
Mitch and I watching OTAs. We're fired up about Hollywood Brown. I'll leave it at that. But I met Berto at a hardware store on Thursday. So this is kind of funny. So I had some friends come in town over the weekend, and we redid our basement. We don't spend a ton of time down there, though. Like, it's finished, but I don't, use the shower down there, right? And my friends are going to stay down there. And I tried out the shower for the first time, and it's great, but it, leaked quite a bit at the base. So I went up to the hardware store to get, I really didn't know what I needed, actually, at the time. Some kind of sealant to try to fix the leak. And I walked in, and Berto said hi. He didn't work there, but
Berto's his name.
Yeah, huge Chiefs fan.
He's not in Goodfellas, is he?
I don't know. I don't think so. He's pretty young, so probably not.
Okay.
Maybe a descendant. But anyway, he immediately asked what I was there for and then found someone to help me get the sealant. So shout out to you, Berto. I got it figured out. It still kind of leaked, but it was better than it was.
And it worked.
Kind of.
Okay.
Kind of, which I'll take kind of in this instance. I met Nick at Yazoo earlier this month. So many of you know my wife works at the zoo, and Yazoo is the big zoo fundraiser. It's fun for me because it's the one instance where roles reverse, and she gets to go to the games and tailgate and have fun and all this stuff while we're working. And I got to go to Yazoo and just have a great time while she was working. And I met Nick there. Shout out to Nick. Jazz Zoo's awesome. The Casey Zoo's awesome if you haven't had a chance to get out there. Heard from Ethan, wrote in from the Lake of the Ozarks. Busy time for the Lake of the Ozarks. We heard from Nikki. Nikki listens every week. She wrote in that her mom and her used to drive through Smith Center at least 6 times a year while going back and forth to Colorado.
Okay, on Highway 36. Where does Nikki live?
So I believe she's somewhere in Missouri now.
So somewhere along 36?
But I think,
Chillicothe?
yeah, I'll have to find out. She's written in before. Hannibal, I want to say.
Hannibal, yeah.
But I'm not certain.
Right on 36.
Anyway, that's like the scenic route, right? If you want to go through Smith Center. Because whenever I go out there, we just drive like through Hayes and like Colby.
Okay, you got to think outside the box here. Well, don't go through Hayes and you can go through Hayes and Colby every now and then through Waukene, which is one of your dad's favorite towns, home of the Golden Eagles. Go 36. It's historic. It's the Butterfield Stage Trail. It's pretty cool.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Lastly, heard from Jimmy in Sedalia. He coined it the official Chiefs crossroads of highways. 50 and 65 are the 2 highways. And he added, tell Mitch hi.
Oh. Well, that leads me into 3 that I have. One is from a very notable architect. He's one of the best architects in the Chiefs Kingdom, and he wrote me a handwritten note. It was for Kansas of the Year, and it's really nice.
Well, of course, on brown paper, right?
On brown paper. It's like this is how architects do it, and in the architect writing, But his name's Joel Perry, good dude. But I had to share this because it was very nice and complimentary. But he goes, loves DTK. Shout out to Matt, too. So everybody that I see go,
wow.
Make sure you tell Matt hi. Here's another one. This is another one. Patrick Maher was involved in some production I was doing, and I'm sure he wants to be part of the Irish Brigade. But he goes, man, I'm just a DTK junkie. Tell Matt hi.
Wow.
Make sure you tell Matt hi.
Hello, everyone.
So we're saying hi to Matt. And then another crew. This was really a wild crew. This was at the Trent Green Golf Tournament for Ronald McDonald House Charities. They are from Albany, Missouri, the Warriors, Polo, Missouri, the Panthers, and Parkway West, St. Louis, the Longhorns. But Kevin Ward, Dwight Medberry, Darren Ward, and Matt Lemmer. And they said, man, DTK fans, and of course, say hi to Matt.
Wow.
So they're all saying hi to Matt.
Wow.
We're all saying hi to Matt.
Hello, everyone. And Jimmy says hi to you. So there we go. We are full circle today.
We're all saying hi. The other thing about the plant shutdown, I'm going to go off the rails here. A plant shutdown always means I get every year what my son and his wife and his 2 daughters know what to get me for the birthday. They don't have to ask. Because how many times does your mom go, what do you want for your birthday, Matt? They don't have to ask. Now, those of you that are watching and listening, here it is. This is the Dave Campbell Texas High School Football Yearbook. Yes, you can get it online, but it's way too cool to have it like in the printed version.
You got to hold it, right?
You have to hold it like in like the 1,500 plus high schools in this. From 6-man, there's 200 6-man football teams in Texas. So I'm going to take the liberty of saluting the 11 high school football players from Texas that are on our current roster.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Imani Bailey, Denton Ryan played at TCU, right? The Raiders, they're good. Second ranked right now in 5A behind Alito, who's won like a zillion titles. Miles Battle, one of your favorite players, biggest corner in the history of the league.
Yep, he's up there.
Okay.
With Tariq Woolen.
Cypress Creek, Cy Creek Cougars. Nick Bolton.
Yep.
Near and dear to your heart, MIZ. Yep. Frisco Lone Star, the Rangers. Always talk. I go, hey, Lone Star. He'll respond. Not to be confused with the Frisco Raccoons. Okay, let's get that straight.
Is that a real mascot?
The Frisco Raccoons.
That's great.
Texas has some awesome ones. The Hutto Hippos.
It's amazing. Hippos is an amazing high school mascot.
I love it. The Frost Polar Bears. Frost, Texas is the polar bears.
Do they get a lot of snow in Frost, Texas? I'm guessing not.
Not so much, and I can't imagine there's a whole bunch of polar bears going around with javelinas. Baylor, not to be confused with Cooper Cup, one of our tight ends from Texas Tech, is from Brock, Texas. They're the Eagles, nearby the Graham Steers. Keontae Ingram, running back. Carthage, Texas. They've been really strong, 29-2 the last 2 years for the Bulldogs. Somebody named Patrick Mahomes, White House High School in Tyler.
Not familiar with.
Oh, yeah. McCade Mattier, undrafted free agent offensive lineman from the Woodlands, Highlanders. Charles Amenahu. Fired up to get him back.
Oh, yeah.
When he gets back. Rolett Eagles. Deneric Prince, Manville, Texas, the Mavericks. Rashi Rice, North Richland Hills, the Richland Royals. And somebody we've mentioned on DTK a lot since April, May, Jared Wiley. of the Temple Wildcats.
All right.
So there you go.
Some good names.
Love it. So I will be enthralled with this book until training camp.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's awesome, man. Texas high school football, I love it. And then I get the Kansas version soon, which I get you a copy of that
you
every
sure
year.
do.
The Kansas pregame, which is Kansas high schools. And Nebraska, if you've got one, Missouri, Iowa, send them, baby. I love it because you know how much I love high school football. Also, let's just check in with our teams in the European League of American Football. What do you got?
So European League of American Football, Mitch and I are just infatuated with it, like just so into it. I don't have a lot of like score or standing updates for you, but I did go through and kind of learn about some new teams, and there's some great team names that I just think are great. So the Paris Musketeers. Musketeers is a great name, especially for a team from Paris. The Rainfire, amazing. Ryan Fire.
Ryan Fire.
I'm not going to call them the Rainfire, though, because
I
that's
think
cool.
and they're in Dusseldorf, right?
I believe so, yeah.
We'll get corrected if they're not.
I'm pretty sure they are, but either way.
And we know where the Philippines is now, what hemisphere.
It's Northern Hemisphere. The Madrid Bravos.
Yeah, I love
that's
that.
really good.
It's a good one.
The Cologne Centurions.
That's back to the old days of NFLE. Yep.
I love the alliteration. The Helvetic Mercenaries in Switzerland. The Mercenaries.
Sure.
So good. And there's a team in Hungary called the Enthroners. I just want to go over and experience it.
You and I got to go to a game.
I want to go to an Enthroners Mercenaries game.
Well, speaking of the Enthroners, my Wrocław, right?
Uh-huh.
Panthers. I didn't bring my sweatshirt in. They just beat the Enthroners 44-13.
Wow.
Yep. And one of my favorite players, the Panthers, Wrocław is 2-3, but is Bruno Vasquez.
That was good.
Bruno Vasquez, he's 140 kilograms. And then the Hamburg Sea Devils, of course, from my native country of Germany, North Germany, led by Ian Spitzky at 127 kilograms, is 2-1 on the year. Your Stuttgart Surge are 4-0.
They're crushing it right now.
Are you going to get a ring?
I don't think I'll get a ring. Maybe I'll look into it. Gather up some euros, some leftover euros from our trip. I have some league leaders for you if you want to hear them.
Sure.
So the passing leader is Jacob, so Jakeb, John Wayne Sullivan. Jacob John Wayne Sullivan.
He's got 4 names.
He's got 4 names for the Berlin Thunder. Is the leading passer. The leading rusher from the Rhine Fire, or the Rain Fire, is Glenn Tooga, Tooga. The leading receiver is Reese Horn from the Vienna Vikings. Kyle Kitchens for the Berlin Thunder is the sack leader. You see Kyle Kitchens playing in Texas high school football.
Yeah, he's probably in here somewhere. Let me find it.
And one of the top tacklers in the league is Alexander Borkovic from the Prague Lions.
The Prague Lions.
We could do this all day.
We're going to a game, man. We're
Got
going
to.
several games. So go Wrocław and go Hamburg Sea Devils.
Frankfurt Galaxy.
But the Galaxy, and you got the Surge, they played 5 games, and the Sea Devils have played 3. I don't get the scheduling.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We'll figure it out.
Well, we'll deal with a similar thing this year when we're playing every day of the week except for Tuesday.
For those of you who are still with us listening to this podcast, realize this is the one we call the plant shutdown, which is where Andy Reid at the end of the mini camp gives the exhortation and then the guys scatter. And the coaches get some time. And you know who really gets the time that I love this time of year because they never get time? And go back to what it was about 6 weeks ago when we did the one on the scouts. You did an awesome job on that. This is the only time the scouts really get. You realize that?
Pretty much, yeah.
Because the coaches will have a weekend, like in February, not the scouts. They're having a meeting the day after we have a Super Bowl parade. But this is the time of year they get to shut down with their families. And I'm so excited for them because, like Brett Veach and his crew, all right, nothing's happening. There's nothing you can do. Nobody else is doing anything else. Just shut down and get ready to go.
The scouts are about to get going. I mean, their time off is really brief because they scatter all over the country, and they're going to they'll be at training camp briefly, but then they go to different schools all over the country in their regions, and then we won't hear from them until December, January. I mean, they're doing reports. They're going to games, meeting the coaches, forming relationships with the players, getting to know them. So when maybe 1 or 2 of the guys in their region is in the range where the Chiefs might draft them, they'll know everything there is to know about that player. And it's just incredible. It seems kind of obvious that you'd have these guys dedicated to scouting all over the country, and they should have all this great information. But these are human beings, and not every team has the scouting staff that we do. I mean, they're just incredible. And just to talk to them and get to know them a little bit at the Combine earlier this year was really, really cool. My favorite thing is I saw a few of them at the ring ceremony. And for those guys that pour so much of their life into a relatively thankless job, I mean, their names, if you're not one of the top guys in the front office, a lot of fans don't know their names, but they dedicate everything they have to finding the next George Karlaftis or Nick Bolton or Patrick Mahomes or whoever. They have their fingerprints all over the back-to-back champions. And for them to experience the ring ceremony, to get their ring, and to just enjoy it with everyone and be a part of the team together, not necessarily off wherever the region is, was pretty cool. So we appreciate all of our scouts. The Kingdom appreciates them, and they're a big reason why we're going for a three-peat this year.
Unforgettable moment. Leaving Allegiant Stadium, we're going to the party, right? The post-game party. And I get on the bus, and I'm surrounded by all the scouts. And it was just an incredible moment because it's that what you were mentioning. They got a chance to kind of see the fruits of their labor. And immediately the turn to 24 season, we're going for it again. We have a shot at this of getting a three-peat. So you can screw up this time if you're a player. That's the exhortation from Andy Reid. You have to stay in some semblance of shape because the way they end OTAs is fairly intense. And he's like, this is the way we're going to start the time in St. Joseph. So we've seen players that get hurt actually during this time, either lifting wrong or because they're back in their home areas with their families or with their own trainers and such. And we've seen players stay honed, or we see players that can kind of goof it up. So, but coach gives the message strong, and then you let them go and hope when they come back, they're ready to go.
And there's really two elements to it. There's the physical element and the mental element. So on one end, there's no easing into it. There is on one hand, like they're not wearing pads right away when they get to camp. Like they're still kind of doing the ramp up into pads. But in terms of the conditioning, they're expected to be ready to go on day one, which is July 21st is the first day open to fans. That's the first practice with all the players. The rookies will be there a little bit before that. But on July 21, they're expected to be ready to go conditioning-wise. There's no easing into it. So you got to make sure you stay in shape. But also from a mental perspective, the retention is a really big deal. And that's intentional from Coach Reid because when you're trying to figure out who's going to make the team, part of that is who could retain the information from OTAs and minicamp and then carry that into training camp. Because the first few days of training camp are essentially a review of OTAs and minicamp. But it's not meant to hold their hand. It's meant to see who remembers what we did 4 weeks ago. And the players that do are going to separate themselves. So it should be interesting to see the mental and the physical component here in St. Joe in just a few weeks for some of these rookies, UDFAs, and players trying to make the team.
And some will fail the physical test, and they get to go to Camp Snoopy for a while. We'll see them over in Snoopy getting ready to go. So those of you, of our players who are out there who are DTK followers, just stay in shape and stay sharp mentally and get after it. So we're going to talk about here what excites you about this team, and I'll give you what I think excites me about the 2024 season. I speak a lot publicly across the country, as you know, and I get asked all the time. And yes, there's a real chance for this team to make history. They can go back to back to back.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not saying that to be arrogant. We're just telling you that if you have seen what Matt and I have seen the last 75 to 90 days, it's there. And it's going to be hard. It's a long climb up the mountain, but this team is poised to do it. So what excites you most about this team while we're in the plant shutdown, getting everything clean and polished and get ready to go again?
Well, there's a lot of things. I'll give you two quick ones. So one is the added athleticism at wide receiver. Adding Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy specifically is really exciting for a bunch of reasons. We could do a whole podcast on it. But you add legitimate, deep vertical speed that the defense has to respect, but also the ability to run the full route tree with those players. They're not just players that can only run vertical routes, and we've seen that throughout their careers. Xavier Worthy, of course, had the hamstring injury during OTAs, but we saw it in rookie minicamp, and we certainly saw it with Hollywood throughout OTAs, that they can run that deep route, but they can also run the underneath stuff with the best of them. So those two receivers, just throwing them in the mix with what Coach Reid already has here in Kansas City is super exciting. In a smaller storyline, but one that shouldn't be small, is the return of Nazeeh Johnson and Brian Cook in the secondary. So Nazeeh was going to, I think, have a really nice season last year. He looked great in training camp, had a real shot to be a real contributor defensively, towards ACL, happened right in front of us. Awful, like a player that's poured so much into trying to earn a spot on this team, had really been good on special teams, had a chance to play on defense, got hurt. Well, he's back, working his way back to the field. I'm excited to see what he can do. And then Brian Cook as well. I love Brian Cook, one of my favorite players on this team. I loved him when he was at the University of Cincinnati. Had that awful injury in Green Bay, but he's healthy now, going to be ready to go hopefully for training camp. This defense was so good last year, and they have a chance to be even better, I think, because you're adding two very young, dynamic players to the secondary who we're very excited about.
I'm with you. I'll tag on that. The third level of the offense is back open for business. We saw that. You'll see it in St. Joseph. The third level is back open for business, and you've alluded to that. The second thing is the tight end room. To pick up Jared Wiley from TCU is a big pickup. Noah Gray's better. And then we know what Kelsey is and what he can be. That room of 6 dudes, will the Chiefs keep 3, 4? We'll see. But that group is Kelsey's best complementary group he's had here. And that's nothing against the other guys that have been here. Then I'm with you on defense. What we've been able to see, I call it Spags, merry men of mangy mutts. This defense could be really good and be even better than they were a year ago. And that's exciting. And I'm going to throw in one because I wish we could devote 2 DTKs to this, is the new kickoff rule. And I'm fired up about this. I started to dive into this in the analytics. I really think, and I'll just make this quick, I really think the average, just hold me to this, the average start field position for any team in this league with this new crazy kickoff rule, and folks, it's crazy.
It's weird to watch.
Wait till you see it. You ain't even thinking about it. When you see it, you'll flip out. I think the average start line of scrimmage in the league will be somewhere like the 31.28 yard line. If the Chiefs move up their starting average start of a drive at that, last year they scored 51% of the time they got the ball at the 30 or better. 17 touchdowns, 16 field goals, and 10 of those not make-its were kneel downs.
Where they weren't trying to score.
I'm just saying. The new kickoff rule, which I thought could hurt the better teams in the league because it could be an equalizer, which I still think it will be, could really help the Chiefs even more than the NFL world knows. Stay tuned.
Well, for the teams that figure it out, if you couple that with having Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, it becomes a massive competitive advantage. I mean, on one end, if teams don't want to mess with it and they kick it out the back of the end zone, a touchback now is at the 30.
That's 5 more yards. And I'm telling you, the numbers go way up, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, it's a whole play that you're just giving away. So you give Patrick Mahomes the ball at the 30. I like that a lot. Or if you take your chances, but if the Chiefs can figure it out and be one of the better teams at it, they could be starting at the 35, the 40, even further. So, yeah, I mean, just watching it in practice, it's funky. Like, it's going to take some getting used to. And we had a meeting earlier today with our preseason broadcast crew, trying to think of storylines, and it kind of hit me like the kickoff is the storyline because it's the first chance that fans are going to have to see it, and it's just a little bit weird. If you watch the XFL, you kind of saw it, but it's not quite the XFL rule because one thing that makes it unique, it's not when the ball is necessarily fielded that the coverage team can move. It's when the ball hits the ground. That's a big difference from the XFL rule. So there's so much strategy that goes into it, and frankly, you don't really know what the strategy is yet. Like, you can try a whole bunch of different things in practice, but until you try them in games, you don't really know. So the preseason is going to be a great opportunity to kind of test out what's going to work during the year and what players are going to be back there and also on coverage.
The best thing to do figuring this out is throw a backdoor slider because hang time does not matter anymore.
No, not at all.
Hang time is not a factor, folks. You're like, what? It is not a factor. Because you can't leave until they get it. And if you give them a returnable kick where they can catch it clean, it's coming to the 35.
At least.
Now, think about a 24-20 game. I think it's the most impactful rule change maybe in league history. I thought two-point conversion, we talked about this as we watched it. Not so much. I just think this could be the most impactful rule change in the history of the NFL. Think about a 24-20 game. That would be our 24-21 game. That's 7 kickoffs in scoring. That's the start of the game. That's 9 kickoffs, which you count halftime. 9 chances for the game to be dramatically changed, where up to this point, or at least in recent years, it's a no play. It's just on. It is on. And the teams that get it figured out, I can find the kicker that can kick a non-returnable kick that is this kind of crazy-looking kick that lands in that 20-0 area, then because if it goes into the end zone and they can't return it, it comes to the 20. That's best case scenario. So I'm telling you, folks, just hang in there with us. We're going to fly through this. But once you see it, you're going to go, oh, my gosh, what is this? So what concerns you about this team as we go into camp? We'll close it out this way.
Well, I wouldn't say concern, but I think there are areas that we maybe need some answers or there's some competition at. And one of them would be left tackle. We don't know who the left tackle is going to be right now. The good news is we have two candidates who are young and who have a ton of potential who are kind of battling for that role. So right now it would be between Wanye Morris and Kingsley Suamataia. Now, Wanye had the 4 starts at left tackle late in the year, and there was some really good stuff. There was some stuff that he could learn from, but I think that experience is invaluable. A great opportunity for him during the year, during a playoff run, or a lead-up at least to a playoff run, to compete against some really good edge rushers. And you know, he came in that Packers game as well when Donovan Smith got hurt in the middle of a game at Lambeau Field and played pretty well against some good edge rushers. So Wanye Morris, it's weird calling him, I guess, a veteran, his second year in the league, but he has a little bit more experience at the pro level. And then Kingsley had a lot of experience under his belt at both left and right tackle at BYU. Now, Kingsley's really young. He's 21 years old, but potential through the roof. Camp has a great chance for both of those guys to separate themselves and to show that they should be the left tackle for this year and maybe for the future. You can't really evaluate that during OTAs. You kind of can. They can go out there and do mental reps. They can work on their technique. But when the pads aren't on, you can't truly evaluate offensive linemen. So I think going into training camp, watching that left tackle battle on those days where they're wearing pads, those are the days I'll really be locked in on, I think.
Mine would be, on the defensive side, of course, L'Jarius Sneed replacement, which looks like, and it's not a one-for-one. Spags has 1,000 new things, folks. If you think you've seen it all, nope. Same with Andy Reid. It's so exciting. Andy Reid has been at work, man.
Yeah,
like the shortest offseason ever. Well, for he and Spags, they got a whole bunch more stuff you ain't seen. And on the defensive side, it's not a one-for-one for Sneed, but Shamari Connor, it's going to be big for him, and that's going to be something to watch at camp. And then I would throw in the third down back. Jerick McKinnon has been so impactful for this team in these back-to-back Super Bowl championships. He's the guy they faked to on the final play of the game, right? And Bosa's just reading him. He's going to jump on him because he's so good, has been so good in the red zone. The slide at the short of the end zone in Super Bowl 57. So who's that third down back, I think, comes to mind. And then finally would be the new kickoff rule. It's also it could be a asset. It could also be an equalizer. So now all of a sudden, if the other team's got this figured out and they put you in a position where you have the best team, but still of the 9 kickoffs that could happen in a game, they might do it better. So it's so exciting and intriguing going into this year.
And I think the way you have to look at all of those things is not necessarily one-for-one replacements, like you said, and it's an opportunity for new players to maybe make their mark. And in the context of L'Jarius Sneed no longer being here and Shamari Connor maybe kind of sliding into that slot role, because Trent McDuffie's going to bounce outside most of the time now. Trent McDuffie was the best slot corner in the NFL last year. He's earned the opportunity to be outside, but who do you put inside? Well, right now it might be Shamari Connor. You're not asking Shamari Connor to be LJ Sneed. You're asking him to be Shamari Connor and to help this team win because of what he can add. And there's certain elements of last season that really impressed me with Shamari that give me confidence he can do that. I mean, 145 snaps out of the slot last year. So he's done it. That's good. It made some plays. I mean, how about the pick against the Bills in the regular season? Huge play, game-altering play in that one. And also in the playoff game against the Bills, played 77 snaps in that game. He wasn't supposed to. Remember, Mike Edwards got hurt like on the second play. Shamari comes in, and if you look at Pro Football Focus numbers, he was like the Chiefs' top-graded defender in that game. So Shamari showed some serious things last year, and a great chance, a great opportunity for him in training camp to show that he deserves to be a starter on this defense.
There's a lot on Shamari's plate. I talked to him about it during OTAs. He goes, yeah, I kind of was trained for it at Virginia Tech.
Did a lot at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, they did a lot of kind of different stuff with him. So he came in a little bit ahead of the curve, but I'm excited to see where that goes. We're excited to get this all started, but hey, the NFL needs a plant shutdown. The NFL needs a nap because once it gets going again, folks, oh my gosh, hang on. It's going to be awesome. He's Matt McMullen, senior team reporter. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. And in the meantime, I'm going to immerse myself into the Dave Campbell Texas high school football book.